Before the film came out, I was doing my regular Wednesday class on the teachings of the Veda. And I had scheduled 4 classes on Avatar. When somebody said to me, one of my students, "Did you know there's a film called Avatar?" I said, "No, I didn't." He said, "Yeah, you should go see it." So I went to see the movie. That was a Tuesday night. The Wednesday night, I taught my class. And the next morning, doing my morning sadhana, my morning meditation, I thought, this is an Avatar moment. Maybe I can be of some service to the Avatar in this moment. My description of the Avatar comes from the knowledge of India, which is where the word comes from. It's a Sanskrit word. And the word itself, ava, means to come down, to descend or come down. And tara means to heal, renew, refresh, and also to teach and to give the necessary, it's almost like bringing a medicine. So the concept of avatara is that the divine comes down from the transcendental, comes into our world, and makes an appearance, brings a whole group of friends and other beings to let us know how to live on the earth in a sacred way, and who we really are, and where we come from, and what the divine really is about. There's 2 things. There's a special reason, so there's a problem in that moment in history that the Avatar is planning to work on. And then the deeper reason is to leave behind a series of teachings so that we have the tools for problem solving later on in history. Because the problem that the Avatar is solving at one moment in history will be similar to the problems we'll face later on. So the Bhagavad Gita was given by Sri Krishna when he was an Avatar. And the Bhagavad Gita is a book for problem solving. So the teachings in the book are useful no matter what time in history you're in. Think of the Avatar as a film director who's making a big movie, so no one will forget the story. So we call it the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. So these big stories have not been forgotten because they embodied all of the important human qualities, all of the loves, all the problems, all the frustrations, all the issues that we could deal with in our life. I studied the subject of Avatar for the last 40 years. And the part that intrigued me was that there was a very important story in India that everyone was missing. So to me, the 2 stories of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, the 2 stories of the Avatar, is the most important information that's ever been given in India. But I noticed that the people of India weren't talking about it very much to the world, just to each other, but not to the world. So the world yet doesn't know those stories really. If you ask the average person in the world about a Hindu or about India, they won't say Ramayana, Mahabharata, Sri Ram, Sita, Krishna. They won't think that. But if you ask a Christian, they'll say Jesus. If you ask a Jew, they'll say Moses. If you ask a Muslim, they'll say Muhammad. Everybody in the world will also say, oh, I know the Muslims have Muhammad and the Christians have Jesus. But again, they won't say, oh, the Hindus have Sri Ram and Sri Krishna, or Sita and Lakshmi, or they won't understand these ideas. So when I saw James Cameron call his film Avatar, I thought, this is an Avatar moment. This is a moment when the world is going to know the word Avatar, but they're not going to know what it really means. So it's the perfect moment for me, who've been studying the Avatar story for 40 years, to bring that story to the world and to give them those teachings. And I saw that James Cameron had woven knowledge from India and other indigenous cultures into his film. There's so many. First, the home tree that he used as the basis. So there's this beautiful tree, and underneath it is this unobtainium, which is like oil or something that we're taking from the earth. But in a bigger sense, in the Vedas, the whole universe is described as a tree, as a banyan tree. So the tree, many cultures have described this image, that the whole universe is this huge tree with its roots upward and its branches downward. That this world is a reflection of the transcendental world, which is a tree, and then this world is a tree, and you have to find the root of the tree. So Home Tree in the movie was a beautiful image taken right out of the Veda. And so then the idea that if you tear this tree down, you take the things out of the ground just for a few moments to get some wealth, and you destroy the world. So it's a beautiful image for what the battle of the Mahabharata was about, or Ravana and Ram, when you're fighting for Dharma. In the film Avatar, and in the Indian culture, and in many indigenous cultures, the female and the male were seen as divine images. So you look at the male and say, ah, Shivaji, ah, Durgaji. So this way, we don't just look at the person as their body, and we don't just look from the outside and exploit them. We look at them as a representation of something divine. And this makes a more balanced culture. And so this leads to another point in Cameron's film, which is wise elders.
Wise elders. Wise
elders are very important. And in the film, both male and female wise elders were shown in the Navi. And this is, of course, a very important part of India and other indigenous cultures again.
Exactly, that like the messages that wise elders give to the next generation.
Exactly. And we now have our wise elders in old folks' homes away, just leaving them to die and leave their bodies alone, instead of using them as a storehouse of wisdom and teaching for the next generation. So our whole culture has cut itself off from wise elders. And it's like the root of the tree. If you cut the root of the tree, then the branches don't grow well. So they have to stay connected to the root. So the elders are always the root, stretching back and remembering the old stories and remembering the knowledge and having life experience and wisdom. So they keep the young people in balance by remembering what has come before. And then the young people are the promise of the future.
Yes.
But if the promise of the future doesn't have the wisdom of the past, then it goes wild and it doesn't create a good future.
Exactly.
But if the current generation uses up the future of the children, then there's also no future for the children. That's what we're doing.
Yes. That's
the unobtainium. We're mining all of the things out of the earth right now, but we're taking the future of the children. The two full avatars are the ones about whom the Ramayana and the Mahabharata were written.
Yes, Ram and Krishna.
Sri Ram and Sri Krishna. So those are called full avatars. That's why in my book, I've Spiritual Teachings of the Avatar, that I wrote after seeing James Cameron's film, Avatar, I write about the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Because if you talk about many different avatars, people get confused and they miss the point. The most important point is that the avatar comes to Earth to give us teachings that tell us how to cooperate with each other, how to live on the planet. And that's why in the book I described this world as a university. As far as we know, other countries had the idea sometimes that divine beings were coming to Earth. So technically those would also be called avatars, but they're called partial avatars. So there's a difference between a partial avatar and a full avatar. The full avatar is as if the Supreme Being, Bhagavan, or God, has come to Earth. A partial avatar is sort of like a divine being, an angel or a deva coming to Earth.
Also the messengers you were just talking about?
Messenger is different. A messenger is like a human being like us, who has been elevated to the status of carrying the message. The messenger, the prophet, is like a mailman, delivering a letter. Whereas the avatar is a divine being coming to Earth of their own choosing. The messenger is born on Earth and reincarnates, but avatars don't reincarnate. If you know somebody in a business setting, as a CEO of a company, then you may know many parts of their life, you may even be their friend or their employee, but you don't know all the secrets of their life. And they wouldn't take you home and tell you all their secrets. So if the Supreme Being comes to earth, sometimes it's as a king and it's keeping you a little bit at a distance, showing you how to do things in a right way, but you don't get all the inside information. So when Sri Ram appeared on earth, that was the case. He gave out some of the secrets. He taught Dharma, he showed people how to live, he showed a perfect king, and Sita showed a perfect queen. They did this particular lila, teaching. When Sri Krishna came, he gave out more secrets, more intimate knowledge, and he took you behind the scenes with the gopis in Vrindavan, in the various places. So he gave even a more secret understanding of the relationship between the souls and the Supreme Being. Avatar story needs to be heard and must be heard because those are the two biggest stories on the planet. Not because they're from India, just because they're the biggest story you could tell if you told stories from history. They're huge stories.
Huge stories.
With a very interesting plot, with many interesting characters. So they have to be told because they're good stories. But secondarily, because they're full of very important knowledge for right now. So I believe that the Avatar is coming back right now in the information age, through this interview, through my book, through James Cameron's film, through the transmittal of information through the internet, through Facebook, through people talking. Did you hear about the Ramayana? No, I haven't heard. No, maybe I should read it. Oh, I haven't heard that story. Maybe I should look into it. And so in this way, maybe the medicine for the problems in the world right now is still the Avatar teachings.